Hey everybody, this is Watch Me Open, and you are listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast. Hi, Mom.
Hello everybody, my name is Ian Taylor and you're listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast, your weekly digest of hobby goodness, brought to you by the Marvel Cards Fan Collective, an awesome community of card collectors and creators. You can find our two groups on Facebook, details at the end of this podcast, so come check us out. With me as always is my co-pilot in all things Marvel cards. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Tell me, who can it be? It's Norrin. I love that song. For years, I didn't realise it was Michael Jackson singing the chorus.
Oh, really?
I know. It's really weird because I had that song on Now That's When I Can Music Volume 4 back in 1984.
Yeah.
And played it until the tape broke.
Nice.
Yeah.
I imagine like in a flash dance scenario, like you're alone in a warehouse and you're running, because that's how I do it.
So I do the thing where I pull the thing and loads of water goes all over me and I flick my hair.
It's orange soda though. It's not water.
Yeah. And it sticks to the material that I'm wearing and my nipples are
you look good.
A little bit. Yeah.
We're talking about nipples again, which our guest loves hearing about.
Our guest loves hearing about nipples. Listen, I'm going to just get straight into it. Our guest returning to the MCC Pod. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Is Billy Versace? Is it Versace? Oh, have I
sure. I don't know. I'm bored.
AK Watch Me Open. Hence the
Thank you.
Rockwell
Thank you.
Week kind of source at the top of the episode.
Or technically Party Stud, which I'm going to ask if you got the T-shirt from because he looks lovely. Party Thor. Damn.
Party Thor from What If.
Oh, that is really good.
And it's Vizozi. That Vizozi will be fine.
Duh, Ian.
Billy V.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Billy
and
V.
yeah, returning guest. Very exciting. It's funny. I was thinking about, I don't know how deep dive you guys are into Saturday Night Live, but early in the 90s, John Goodman was a guest several times. And at one point, he broke Steve Martin's record for most appearances as the host. And they did a whole thing where like they put him in a throne and they put a crown on him and so that's how I envision my career here ending is I don't know who has the record right now, but when it gets to the point where I have I've broken it, I expect to be treated similarly. So
you will be. Crown is in the mail. I think it's a good idea.
He's been on here. Well, to be fair, I don't think anyone's made it past 2 at the moment, have they? Kevin's been on twice.
That's what she
Kevin
said.
number 1. Hey.
Kevin, yes.
Kevin number 1. We've had Brad Galley on twice.
That's right.
Brian Bode on twice. Travis from Upper Deck on twice. Yeah. I think most people, after doing the first one, just kind of walk back to their car and discuss, going, I'm never fucking doing that again.
Yeah.
And
that's usually why we can't get them back twice. They realize what a mistake it was the first time. The second time they're on here,
or they're still dealing with the legal fallout and the traumatization from it.
Yeah, very much.
My head size is a 7 3/8 if you're getting the crown fitted.
Okay.
I'll write it down.
This is good. PTSD is podcast traumatic stress disorder. That's what they're suffering from. Oh dear. I'm gonna.
This is why you don't give Ian electronics. It's just.
There we go. Sorry, I couldn't resist. It was just there, begging me to go back to it and push it.
It's too easy.
Billy, so you wanted to come back. Let's get into it. You wanted to come back and talk about. Billy messages me and goes, "Yo, Brokowski, I've got a great idea for an episode."
I I did not say
you did not call me Brokowski. No,
Billy's known for his Brokowskis.
Yeah, I would have hit delete. Hobby diplomacy.
Abraham Lincoln.
Of course, all the Wayne's World jokes. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Hobby diplomacy.
Yeah, it seems a little churched up of a way to say it, but I just wanted to kind of encapsulate everything. It's no secret, it's no joke that as we've been growing at such a rapid rate, there's been a little dissent between the old guard and the newcomers.
Somewhat, yes. I think it's fairly safe to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Billy's having a mouthful.
So there's a good deal of us in the middle that have kind of just been sitting back watching, and I thought there's some things that we need to talk about and clear the air as far as how we want to play this moving forward, and what we think is okay and not, and I don't know, just kind of like I said, diplomacy, decorum, and how we should be carrying ourselves out.
I love it.
And look, let me preface by saying I don't see myself as an authority or an expert or someone who should be telling other people what to do. For the most part, I've been trying to take an objective stance and just kind of see both sides of things. And I would hope, I'd prefer not to talk about any specific thing that's happened, but there have been different things. It's not just one thing, whether it's people coming in and they want to buy something and they kind of get dogpiled on because they're asking for a particular type of thing that just seems to be the hot fire right now.
Ticket item. Yeah. No, there's a lot of little things too. I mean, it really has been 6 months of this kind of it's been longer, but 6 months where it's been kind of ramped up, I think, just to give it a number, where there really has been a change in the hobby. And it's funny too, because Ian's been in the hobby collecting at the level that I'm collecting at longer than I have, for sure. And Ian knows of the people called the old guard. Well, the old guard, the original old guard. Which is just a really crazy, very specialized collectors who really had a fix on a lot of pieces. And I'm sure everyone now who's gotten into the hobby, who's been collecting now for some time and building up their collections, grading, all this kind of really good stuff that's healthy for the hobby, is kind of looking around and realizing some of these cards are just held by people and there's no way to get certain things. It requires trading, it requires time and all this stuff. And I think that's a lot of it. And I think that's part of the frustration that I'm seeing happening in the group. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are figuring this out at different times on what a pain that is and how difficult that is. Because I think once the audience grows for Marvel cards, and Billy and I just spoke about this a little while ago, how there's not really much there for Marvel. Not really, not comparatively to other cards. I was just talking to Swami, Shiny Swami, who's on YouTube. I was just had a private conversation with him recently, and he was showing me how many Pokemon cards, how many Charizards, and just the amount of product that there is able to be had. And I look at Marvel cards, and I'm just this is going to get worse because there's going to be less things to get. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a great episode. I remember Ian told me that you sent him the list of the outline of the show and how you want to approach it. And I absolutely love it. I'm excited we're actually doing this. I think it's going to be really fun to kind of get into it.
So it's funny you mentioned that there's not a lot of them, because I remember seeing the other day someone was talking about prop reports and they mentioned sports cards, and I forget what sports card they mentioned. I'm sure it was a Michael Jordan, whatever, but this particular Michael Jordan card on a prop report, there's 3,800 of. And then someone else was talking about a Spider-Man card that there's 30 of.
Yeah. And I saw a video in the week from a guy. I sent it to you, Norrin, actually. Did you make it all the way through?
Yeah.
That kind of 10-minute. Started off as a bit of a rant, but by the end of it, he was actually...
with the guy. Yeah, it was good.
I was almost tattooing what he was saying onto my skin. He was making so much sense. But he referenced a card where there's 18,000 of them.
It's crazy.
Which is crazy. So.
Yeah, I was talking to Neo Neo Comics and Cards, and he was saying a similar thing. He was bringing up numbers because he was kind of, remember back in the day, like he was the one that was kind of opening like 1990 Marvel Universe packs on air. And then, Billy got into it. Billy opened a lot of really good, Billy opened the 96 box, a lot of people never gotten to see before. Watch Me Open, which is just an awesome channel. And, Neo was talking about that too and looking at the numbers. And it's kind of crazy when you start putting it in perspective. Like it really, the difference is insane to think that the audience can grow by, I would say the audience grew by what, more than 50%? It feels like more than 50% of the audience has kind of popped into Marvel cards a little bit.
I think so. I think we're seeing a second wave as well, because there was a wave just over a year ago with the first wave of it was very much washing up on the shores of the Marvel Universe 1990 and the Mr. Marvel Stan Lee card, and that was the kind of focus. Yeah, and those, you remember those boxes kind of peaked, and people were trying to sell them raw for crazy prices, and just and then it kind of it died off very quickly. I think because of the fact that a lot of the cards didn't and couldn't come back. So the weather got nicer and people went outside, and kind of like everyone kind of forgot about it. But I think we're seeing another kind of wave now. It's an unfortunate analogy I'm going to make because the people of Tonga had a terrible time with that tsunami the other week. But the thing with tsunamis is that the first time it hits is never the worst. It's always the second and third times that come in. And maybe worst is the wrong thing to say when we got talking to this. But I think, as there's obviously a massive disruptor in the fact that people have suddenly cottoned onto the fact that cards are there. Whatever lit that blue touch paper, be it Gary V or whomever it may be, but that blue touch paper has been lit, and I think we're seeing a second and third wave of that interest. Of the new washing up against the kind of the little islands of the old that are out there. I went deep with that one as well. I was doing this with my hand.
I love it. Maybe most intense instead of worst.
Yes, most intense. Yes,
I agree.
But one thing before we move on, the other thing I thought was interesting what you were just saying, Norrin, was you were saying about people coming into it, and I think what it requires, to come into it. One of the things that I think is possibly missing from the list is relationship building. One of the biggest challenges I think at the moment is that there are a lot of people coming in who don't want to take the time to do that. They want to be very abrupt, and they want to be very like, okay, this is what I want to get, this is what I'm going to go. Maybe because it's just how they are as people, maybe that's just how they conduct themselves online, or maybe that's the world they've come from in terms of how things work. And I think because Marvel is a relatively small pond, the secret to being a big fish in a small pond with Marvel cards is that networking, is that relationship building, is that a lot of people know each other, and have built up relationships. Whether they would be friends in real life, IRL, is kind of a moot point. They've built up that courtesy and that respect from having seen each other around, and tip of the hat to your collection, sir, and things like that, and have probably traded or transacted at some point. So I think that goes a long way. I'm not sure where I'm going with that. It just occurred to me. It was just a thought that popped into my head. So I'm going to stop talking and let Billy say something, because he's actually a guest on our show.
No, so we could just dive right into this outline, and we've kind of beat around the bush already with some of the things we've been talking about. But the first thing that I had was about selling cards, and this idea of selling cards being taboo or verboten, where if you're selling cards, then you're not a real collector. You're not a real Marvel fan because you're selling your cards. How could you sell these cards? And I think that's absolutely fallacious. I think selling is an integral part of collecting. I think any intelligent collector who doesn't have unlimited means should be selling cards, because everything that comes into your possession, unless you're very selective, is not going to be in your forever collection. It's not going to be PC. Even as you two guys, the two of you are I would say the epitome of character collectors. I know Ian does have some sets, but there's surfer stuff that you've had to move on from, and there's Black Cat stuff that you've had to move on from. So that doesn't make you a crappy Black Cat fan, because how could you? I thought you were a Black Cat fan. How could you sell something or get rid of something Black Cat?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. There's a lot of, and it's weird, I've heard a lot of people who are just coming into the hobby say that and talk about selling, and it's a natural part of the card hobby. And I think a lot of people are thinking about it in different ways. When you have someone who comes from sports or Pokemon and they're talking about selling, it's very different to when you talk about Marvel card selling, only because it's just not so ingrained in the audience yet, unfortunately. And I think that's just a little bit of the hesitation and the difficulty here, because a lot of Marvel card collectors, at least the ones I know, who really just don't sell. Like Ian and I know enough collectors where they just cards are not being shown because they don't even want to think about selling them. So, and it's very strange. And I think that happens because, and I was thinking about this a couple of days ago, actually. It's interesting how there's going to be a major difference. And I think a lot of collectors are going to learn this, unfortunately, like I did the hard way, which is just so depressing. But I think a lot of people are going to learn that Marvel cards don't operate only as cards. They also operate like art. And art buying and art trading. I think that's a really difficult concept to grab when you start looking at cards and you understand that collectors are not looking at them as trading cards. They're looking at them as art pieces. Hence the non-grading and the attitude towards grading, which is a shame. Hence the attitude towards other things that seem so normal in the card world to us as card collectors. And we were talking about this on an episode just recently, being a curator instead of a collector. And I think there is going to be a major difference there between those two types of collectors. And I think you're going to see that even harder when you get into sketch cards. But I think a lot of people are still that way, even with trading cards they have. You know what I mean? Not even PMGs, like way, other things than PMGs. You're going to realize that's very much like, no, I bought this. I have this piece. This piece stays here with me. I look at it every day. This is this piece. It stays on the wall. And I think that's the big discrepancy. The truth is, there is no problem selling or flipping. I can't tell you how many people, when I first got into this, I did commissions. Like I took on, I couldn't find surfer sketch cards. So I got into getting APs from artists, and I would do videos and support them and spotlight them. Ian remembers that was my whole channel originally. That's why it was called Sketch Card Hive. A lot of people don't know that because it was a while ago now, but I ended up stopping because I kept having so much anxiety about the process. And it was like, I love the cards, but it would never be exactly what I wanted. And that was my fault. That wasn't the fault. I had like amazing sketch cards from artists. Like I really did. I ended up having to sell them to buy the ones that I would find randomly that were like pack pulled, or ones that were just never seen, and I would see them. I'd be like, oh, that's exactly what I was picturing in my head. And I had to learn through my own discovery phase that, okay, a year or two of buying APs from artists, I wasn't holding them long enough. I would for a long time, or I would just trade them from other surfers, but I wasn't making money on, you know what I mean? With commissions, I get a little more gray about, but it's just my opinion, not the opinion of what I have for other collectors. Other collectors can do whatever they want. But anyway, I realized very quickly, I was like, you know what? Instead of having all these APs that I keep finding myself trading to get other cards, I'm going to hold off on that. And I'm just going to be looking at eBay, and I'm going to do the hunting thing. And that's kind of where I've fallen into. I still get APs every once in a while because I just love the work. But, the card collecting thing kind of came from that for me. So, and I understand it completely. Yeah, I understand the taboo of selling, especially when you're a character collector. It's pretty severe. And people do get very judgmental at that. Which is always, it's a shame. It makes you feel bad. Ian jokes about it all the time. I have things for a little bit and then I move on from them. But, the truth is, man, when you're a character collector and you can't find things anymore, you want to participate in the hobby, but then realize you don't have infinite funds.
Yeah, I think as well, the other thing as well is that I think a lot of collectors do this. There's a constant shedding of skin going on. What you might have found and got caught up in the excitement of it release, 2 years later, you'll be sitting there looking at it and going, nah, that set doesn't really fit my collection. I enjoyed collecting it, but it's not in its forever home. And I very quickly came to that realization not too long ago with Marvel Ages. And I think that was kind of my start of my turning point, actually. That set was the one where I kind of looked at it and I was very quickly, okay, actually, I'm looking at a lot of these sets and, I've trimmed a lot and I've got a lot more to go. So, I've decided what my core set collection road will be, and I've been parting with the other stuff. Some of it I've not been able to sell. Others of it I've had a tremendous success because I hadn't realised how much in demand it had been. I think, unfortunately, most of the stuff falls into the former category. I've still got a whole 2 boxes full over here, and part of that is, of course, the challenge that I'm in the UK. So it's it can be pricey for people to buy and have it shipped over unless it's something they really, really want. So, but I get that because it was pricey for me to get it in the first place for the same reasons. I think and I've talked about this before, I've never been. I acknowledge that flipping goes on and it's a whole thing, and there are hashtags flip life and all this sort of stuff, and Comsi make it a big part of their content and a big part of their vibe. And I've just never really been very good at it. It's never really interested me in that way. Buying something specifically, just knowing that I'm getting it at a cheap price and then being able to mark it up. It's just never something that sat well with me as a person. Maybe it's a cultural thing, I don't know, but I've never really liked it. But I get that people do it. Where I've drawn the line, however, is that, and we've had a few instances of this in the group, and they've all ended with the person being excluded because. And I'm hoping this doesn't change, but we've been quite lucky, especially in the MMC group, that we've had some of the big creators with us, and they've offered us stuff in the group that's exclusive to the group at community-friendly prices. Now, they're not mean to saying they're doing it for $50 when they could do it for $200, but they're doing it at a price that'd be like, okay, this is a fair price for me, and I'm going to sell it in the group. And what I've had an issue with is where people have taken advantage of that and then gone to sell it on eBay for 3, 4, 5 times the price. And the same has been true with access to artists. We've had ex-members of the group who have commissioned stuff off people or bought APs off people, and even before the artist has actually mailed it to the person, they've got it on eBay because the artist sent them a picture at 3 or 4 times the price. And that is, for me, that's where I draw the line. Someone in another group accused me of having rose-tinted lenses towards this. I don't think there's anything wrong with aspiring to an ideal and aspiring to a better way of how to conduct yourself. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of it comes down to conduct. If you buy something from someone in the group and someone was doing it because they're selling it to the community and to mates, and that maybe they could get a little bit more for it on eBay, but then when you take off the fees, yada yada yada. But when you do that and you're buying from it, or buying from someone who might not know what they've got and is selling it to though, and they take advantage of it. Someone else did that in one of the groups. They bought some sketches. They bought ACAR sketches, I believe it was, of someone who really didn't appreciate the value of them, and they bought them off them and they flipped them immediately to their eBay store at 3 times the price. That for me, that was drawing the line. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think if it's blatant like that, you kind of instinctively know when someone's taking the piss and crossing the line. But for the majority of people, it isn't. I mean, one of the other things we've had recently is people who may have bought some original art of someone who they might have owned it for a year to 18 months and are turning around to sell it. I've got no issue with them adding a bit onto it because the market's gone up on them. But some people don't feel that way, so.
Right. And I think one of the biggest aspects of what because we use the word flipper, and I feel like whenever we hear the word flipper, it's got this negative connotation. We conjure up images of this
dolphin.
That or a man in a brown trench coat selling watches out of his insides, and the man. You know what I'm talking about?
Let's move on. No, let's move on.
You said insides.
No,
inside of coat jacket. You look like you're flashing me.
Well, yeah, I realize that.
No, I'm kidding. No. Like selling the watches and the trench coat.
Right,
yeah. I'm with you. It's an image. It's there. Whatever. It's real. It's an American thing. We do it every Sunday. Okay. Don't worry about it.
Carry on. You carry on.
It's a thing.
Anyway, I think what it comes down to is the circumstances under which you acquired whatever it is that you're selling. And to use my own experience, Black Diamond. You guys know, everybody knows, everybody was witness to the insanity that I put into that on EPAC to get that achievement.
It went hard.
Yeah.
And Black Diamond, the set itself, was only interested in the sketches and using the cards in the set to trade for sketches or other PC items. And those achievements, I don't collect autos. It's just not for me, but I saw an opportunity there to sell them, and there's really no established market. And I had conversations with a lot of people about what should I sell these for, and I put one up, and the first one, the Hemsworth, sold in under 6 hours. So I didn't see anything wrong with that. I didn't see like I was taking, because for one, like I said, the circumstances in which I acquired them, I invested money and I grinded and I traded and I wheeled and dealed. So it's not like I had to take advantage of someone to get that position in those cards.
Yeah.
But and maybe the amount of time between you buying it and selling it, but obviously there's the whole other side of this that we're not even talking about. How many times have we seen it in the group where people have life events like, I got to get out of collecting. I lost my job. I'm behind on payments. I overextended myself in the hobby. I'm sick. I got hurt. My wife, my kids, and for the most part, I feel like the community responds very well to those situations, and we come in droves and we buy this guy's stuff up and we say, hey man, we're here whenever you're ready to come back. So,
we have many, yeah.
We have to consider the individual also that this is coming from, and my whole point was to avoid a generalization, a preconceived notion about any time someone sells something.
Yeah,
we don't know the whole story, and we don't want to judge someone or chastise someone or cast them out. We want to remain a very welcoming community, the community that welcomed me when I came in. And that's why I'm literally here right now on this podcast with you guys, because of how I was welcomed.
Welcome.
I think it's lovely, man. I mean, there's no reason for us to, and there has been this activity in the group from people who are also experiencing things we don't know, and who are also seeing change in the hobby that is, to be honest, very different and very scary. And, people are making rash decisions because they themselves feel attacked for the hobby changing on them. So I think there's a lot of people making these decisions very quickly. And I think, in terms of the Marvel card hobby using the word flipper in negative ways, I do think that's poor judgment. I don't think that's right. Definitely not right. It is part of card life, and it is something we all do. And I think flipper everywhere else is being a flipper is, I know I was just about to do it too. I was about to sing the flipper song. I was so close. I saw Billy do the thing and I was about to do it. But being a flipper in the card hobby is kind of like part of the ecosystem, right? And I think that's the thing a lot of people don't understand yet, is that the ecosystem in Marvel cards is changing, and the relationships you make are going to be the things that let you survive and persevere the longest. I've been brokering deals for a lot of people recently, and for the last year and a half, and doing a lot of work on the inside of, selling people's collections, helping people out, people asking me, hey, listen, I need cash and I want to sell this. And I've been doing a lot of stuff for a year and a half now of that kind of work for people to help them out. mostly friends and collections that I trust. I usually don't, you know what I mean? I only do it with people I know. I know that they kept their collection nice, and I know it's going to be the real deal. And, you know, I think it's, man, it is really special to see someone who's had something for years and realize, oh, wow, this is going to help me buy my house. This is going to help me get out of this financial bind. This is going to help me take care of my grandmother who's, you know, sick. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard some real stories and life-changing things happening because of people selling things that they absolutely love, but they need life things. There's nothing wrong with that, you know, and I think that will change. I think a lot of people right now are upset that they're not the prom queen and king of their high school dance. And I think that's unfortunate. And I think people are just going to have to realize how much of this stuff is changing, whether they like it or not, and find a way to adapt. We kind of talked about this on an episode that hasn't aired yet, just a little bit, in terms of, you know, how to look at your collection and stuff like this. So it's always a good conversation to bring up again. But yeah, I agree. I don't think, you know, being a card flipper should have such negative connotations to it.
And let's be real. How many of the people that ultimately end up judging the person selling are just jealous or resentful that they don't have the same position in that card?
I think I don't want to judge people like that, because if we're not judging flippers, then I don't want to judge the people who are getting mad at them either. I think it happens for various reasons. I think people get upset. It's very weird, man. And Marvel's been really small.
But not even say jealous, but they might end up doing the same thing if they had that position.
Everybody would. I mean, let's be honest. And some people don't. And you know, to be fair, I know a lot of people who have things like, I just did this for, well, I don't want to out his name or anything, but I have there was a friend, I know this guy, I've met him a couple of times, and apparently he's been helping out you, Elusive, and a lot of other great people, because his collection on Rittenhouse and other things are just phenomenal. You know what I mean? And I just went ahead and he trying to build an X-Century set, and he needed the 2 Prowlers I had. I gave it to him at cost, because he was, and I'm not going to mention the name, but I did this because I heard through the grapevine that he had been basically selling cards at cost. And some of the Diamond Silver Surfers I have were from his collection. I just didn't know it at the time. So, you know, like, but that's what I love about the community more than the judgmental stuff that I think will pass, is that we are very aware of who is in here and who's like trying to grow with us and trying to be. And you don't have to sell things cheap to be a good person. Don't get me wrong. I've had plenty of cards that I bought cheap that I sold for exactly what they were costing in market and made a profit. And what people want to call me, that's fine. I love it. It was great. It was fun. It was exhilarating, and it happened. And I don't think anything's wrong with that. But I do think that, you know, there's a lot of people out there who are not, you know, abusing the system or abusing the time we're in either. And I think I get where those guys are coming at, you know what I mean? Because they feel like they're being inched out. I'm sure ladies and gentlemen that are doing that. I don't know. It's a bunch of different people, different reasons. You can't lump them all in together.
Well said. So the as I see Ian making notes, actually, for a second, he was so intently making notes, I thought his camera froze. The next thing I had was about, you know, we call it pumping your cards, and this
flexing.
And people doing it with the intention of driving up the market value for a particular card, insert, year, character, and they're only doing it because they have an ideal position in that card, you know, in whatever that thing is, and I feel like that's manipulation. If there's let's just, for example, let's say there's an out of 25 card and you have 20 of them, and you want to all of a sudden make it seem like this card is going to be the hot fire, it's going to blow up, it's going to go through the roof, then that's manipulation, because you're only doing it because you have it. It's not because you think it's going to be like an organic interest that's generated. Yeah. And that does happen. And I think as a principle, There's nothing wrong with pumping a card if we're talking about specking, right? Like me specking Moon Knight because the trailer was incredible. Because
the trailer was fun. That was
because
awesome.
the trailer was shown during Monday Night Playoff football prime time. Half of America got to see it. Cool character. He's often said that he's Marvel's Batman.
Yeah.
And Oscar Isaac, Academy Award winning actor. It's got all these things going for it. Like that's me pumping that. That's organic. I feel like that has the potential to come from a real place. But me pumping, Beetle, because I've got the market cornered on Beetle cards.
Beetle's important. Really important, vital character to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, I'm just saying, I heard Michelle Pfeiffer's going to play Beetle. I don't want to blow anybody's mind, but
we're 35 minutes in and we've got organic pumping happening, so my mind has already been blown.
Ian's gone. No, I agree with you. It's funny. It's really funny. I was talking to, and I'm going to put this out there because I'm going to put this out there, but I was talking to someone who was posting in the group, and they were stacking cards and showing that they had many of them, and I'm sure saying that word everybody knows. And I love this guy, and I messaged him, and we were talking, and this person had been buying these cards a year prior to anyone. Like a year and a half. Like, imagine that. Before all this stuff would happen, someone looked at Marvel cards and said, you know what? I want to buy this stuff. I want to get in on this. I'm going to buy doubles, and I'm going to get the best grades possible. Now, a lot of us hearing this now are probably like, what are you talking about? And all this other stuff. But it's funny. We have an OG collector that people are starting to get to know who's been doing this since day one, since early 2000s. Hardcore. Doing this, in fact, has been a big part of the reason people can't find the certain hot ticket item right now that everyone's looking for. That's no joke. And I am going to say it like that because I want people to know that this thing that's become transparent on Instagram and Facebook is not new. This has been happening with OG collectors for a long time. And artificial pumping or organic pumping, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't mind either. And I know Ian's gone. I don't mind either. If I have to do it myself or go to Amazon and get something, I don't care. What does it matter? Poor Ian's gone. No, but what I mean by that is that it's happening everywhere. And people are putting out their cards. They're putting out cards that they have a specific stake in. And I think that's why we see a lot of people get upset in groups when certain cards are talked about and they're like, man, those cards are garbage. Why don't you check out this set here? And then they happen to have everything from that set. I think, it's very much the norm, especially when you have hard numbered pieces, and there is a way to get on that side of that market. And I think people judging other people and being upset is not the way to go. I think the way to go is to be like, okay, well, they did that. I'm going to hit them up. I'll talk to them, see what they're interested in. They got that. If their prices are crazy, then I just won't ever deal with them. In fact, there's been multiple collectors, and I'm friends with certain people where I would never trade or buy one single card from them. And I'm friends with them. I consider them buddies. Like, we would get something to eat and hang out and just, whatever, chill. And I'd be their friend. I'd help them out, whatever, help them move, for God's sakes. But I would never buy one single card or trade with them because they were a nightmare to deal with. And that doesn't make them any less or better of a person, funny enough. It just, sometimes you don't line up. You know what I mean? Sometimes people value your stuff less. They value their stuff higher. It's just the mentality. You know what I mean? Sitting here and saying that they're wrong or they should be outed or they're doing it wrong, I'm doing it right. I think that leads down a very dangerous road. Like, I love that you did that thing with Moon Knight and you went to Beckett. I thought that was so cool, man, on Instagram, and it felt like in the moment. It was so awesome.
Oh, golden.
Golden. Beckett, come on. Golden. I just thought that was just the sickest thing to see that happen, because I've always wanted to be like, man, that'd be a good video. And when you did it, I was like, no way, because it's so fun to see. That's exhilarating. You know what I mean? We don't have a lot of card shows.
Front desk.
I saw, you told me. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing to think about, right? With other card YouTube and content, there's card shows, there's deals that can happen. It's thrilling, right? That excitement is there. We're just not there with Marvel cards yet. They're showing up. Like Spidey G just went to Dallas and had that whole organic thing happen with the Great Curator. And that was really exciting and thrilling to see. So I think all of this stuff is going to be more and more thrilling and more fun. And it's going to take a bunch of different personalities. And, to be honest, most of the people that I've met who are doing the artificial or the hyping of things here and there, they're fans of Marvel cards too. You know what I mean? As strange as that is, as a paradox as that may be, they are fans, and it's interesting to see that. I've talked a little too long, but yeah, I just I thought that's kind of interesting to see the other side of it too, though.
So I do think there's the far end of the spectrum of that artificial pumping, and I can't. I feel
but
like
that's good though.
I feel like I'm giving Ian making Ian's day every time I say artificial pumping. But no, the extreme end of it has got to be what we saw in September with the shill bidding on eBay.
That is, and that's illegal, right? Because that's fraud. And that's not pumping. That's straight up fraud. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the people that are doing that are two guys who believe they have a corner on the market of something, and they went to eBay to put up cards there that didn't sell, and they backed out from deals, right? So a lot of things have happened in that regard, and that is people trying to get a strong hold of the hobby. But you know how you beat that? You don't beat that by being like, those guys are jokes, this is all wrong, even if you do this is stupid, blah, blah, blah. What you do is, like we're doing now, is having a civil discussion with friends from the community of people who cherish this hobby. You know what I mean? And then we tell each other, be like, hey, man, that eBay listing that's happening right now, be careful. This eBay seller, yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? That's right. What needs to be happening. And I think that's important. And does that happen? Does that have to happen on the wall of the group of MCCW or any Marvel group? No. Like, to do that, sometimes those PSA announcements have to happen for very particular reasons because people are losing money and it's getting really bad. But there's also that's why you come to the group and introduce yourself. That's why you make a community. That's why you have friends, because you're going to hear the hot take, as they say it, you know what I mean, of what's going down in the hobby from friends, not from some random person in a group who's going to post their feelings about something because they had a bad experience or, all this other stuff, negativity that comes with comments. It really is word of mouth. In my experience ever, the things I found out are always been through word of mouth, not like a Facebook post. You know what I mean? It's always been, hey, I found this out. I think we should be careful. And then that gets circulated. You know what I mean? I think that makes a lot of sense. In my experience, that's just my experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're lucky in that regard. You're able to have a lot more of those conversations, a lot more of those immediate conversations. I'm slightly hampered with time zones, so my only kind of
unfortunately,
my main and just time, just generally in my day. I'm just my main conduit to communicate with people is by posting on the group, which is one of the reasons I set it up. It was my gateway into the hobby. It was the way I the hobby, and find a group of like-minded people to talk about cards with and to trade with and to selling was always part of it. But it's not a buy-sell trade group primarily. It's not designed to be that. I'd rather there were 2-3 posts about talking about cards to every one that was selling. Unfortunately, it's the other way around these days. Just because that's kind of what I think is exciting about them. You got to remember that whatever your reasons for collecting, if you are, and that's the other thing. Just touching on something you said earlier, Billy. It's like and I posted about this on Instagram recently. The whole real collector or the true collector phrase. I won't get going on down that rabbit hole necessarily because that's not the point I'm trying to make. But there is a school of thought that says, "Are you a collector when you're just buying it to then sell it? Because surely you're just owning it for a period of time before you then pass it on." Do you see what I mean? There is that distinction for a lot of people in their minds, whether you agree with it or not. So there's that. I don't know where I was going with that train of thought, but yeah, you're able to have a lot more of those immediate conversations, which is cool. And I love it when I'm able to do that, but it's more difficult if you're in different parts of the world, I think, to have that.
It's a shame too, because like most of my mornings are
which we don't get.
Yeah, no, and it's a shame because most of my morning is like talking to you and Gingy, and then everybody else on the East Coast is early, late morning, and then early afternoon, late afternoon is everyone from the West Coast. So it's very much like, and it's a global hobby, so it's an interesting way. And I'm right in the middle. So. No, and it's true, and it's unfortunate, and that's what always scares me about like new collectors in the hobby is I feel for them because I don't want them to be swindled and bamboozled by like the things, which always really makes me sad because it's not fair and it doesn't help the hobby longevity wise because then they're here and they're like, well, those guys were pricks. And I was talking to this is a crazy conversation. I was talking to someone who's very, very high end, very, very public figure type of thing. And we were talking about hobbies and cars and stuff like that. And it was Brad Pitt. He's so sexy. And basically, I was talking to this person, and don't look at me like that. You know the sounds I make. And I was talking to him. Billy's laughing. And basically, it was funny because he said he was like, he went into a card hobby, and everybody was. And the first thing the person said was like, man, everybody was mean. I mean, like really bad, mean, like coming at me, saying stuff, saying this about I'm not a true collector, blah, blah, blah. And this is a person who had a lot of influence and a lot of ability to give good attention, positive attention to a hobby and to help all the hobbyists out there with their collections. And this particular card hobby totally missed this opportunity to have this kind of status collector in there because of their inability to evolve and grow and to be welcoming and to put past certain biases. And I thought that was so sad to hear. And I just recently had that conversation like 2 weeks ago. And I was just like, man, it's crazy to get that kind of perspective from people. It's strange. It's very strange for sure.
Yeah, there's something. I'm just going to circle back slightly because it's just occurred to me. I'm like one of these delayed reaction kind of people because it takes me a moment to digest and then think through something. But I guess the one thing about the whole selling thing, going back slightly, is that people don't remember the people who happen to be selling because they're trimming down the collections. They don't remember that. What they remember is the people that are, and we know they're there because we see them, the people who are evidently predatory.
Yes.
And and unfortunately, those are the ones that stick in mind. There may be less than the number of fingers on your hand, number of those people, but because they're so ubiquitous, they've obviously got, deeper pockets and they're buying a lot and doing a lot. And, you see them now and again, they keep their heads down, a lot of these people. And unfortunately, it just, I think, a lot of other people get tarred with the same brush because people just get a bit like, and then they'll think that someone else is doing it as well. And, it's just a really unfortunate thing that happens. But someone posted something the other day that made me a little bit sad, actually. And it's given me a lot of pause for thought. Someone posted something. Now, for various reasons, I've always had a very firm rule, not always, it wasn't there for the first 6 to 9 months of the groups, that I don't want anyone to price bash someone else. Now, there's been maybe 1 or 2 occasions where admin have had to step in when it's a brand new member who's trying to sell something for like £3,000 and it's a 50-cent card or something like that. In that case, it's a new member, or we've said something because it's we've kind of want to protect the community a little bit. But for the most part, if someone's got a card that is seen to be selling at $200, $300, $400 and they list it for $2,000, it's on them. It's fine. If it sells, fine. If it's not, if it doesn't sell, then no one will buy it. But I brought that rule in that no one should price bash someone else's post because there was a very unfortunate incident where someone did get openly price bashed, and they left the group. And I just, it's felt, that's not a very nice thing to do to someone. Doesn't matter what they're doing. Doesn't matter what they're selling, especially when it was someone who was known to the group. It wasn't exactly someone new. It wasn't someone trying to take, So this guy, and am I out loud for one of you, by the way? Because I can hear myself echoing back somewhere. Is that maybe with you, Norrin? It's bizarre. I can hear myself echoing back somewhere.
I'll mute myself while you're talking. Hopefully,
it's really strange. Anyway, someone posted something the other day. He posted a card, and someone went in, and someone else went in, someone else went in, and the guy ended up posting something. He ended up changing his post, saying it's no longer for sale. But he made a comment that I'm trying to find now, so bear with me. I appreciate the love, but unfortunately I will pull this soon, as I can't even post a sale in the group and get much love. Mostly what I expected was this. It's sad. And I agree. You shouldn't have to think. You shouldn't have to expect that. And the fact that someone is now expecting that, posting an MCCW, I think is just... It just breaks my heart, actually, because I've always pushed for a community that doesn't do that doesn't behave like that towards others. And it ties back into the thing that I can't remember which one of you said it just now, the phrase civil discussion. It ties back into that. It unfortunately, with Facebook and with polarization on all kinds of levels, both on and off the internet, and on and off, whatever country you're in and whatever's happening in the IRL outside of the hobby, people are much more polarized now, and I just think there's that lack of civil discussion. And we said it on an episode that I'll say it here now because it's on an episode that we've recorded but hasn't dropped yet, but it will drop before this one. And I said it last week, Norrin, when we were talking, is that for me, the one thing that gets people excluded from groups and from the hobby is the conduct. It's how you conduct yourself. It's not what you collect. It's not what you choose to sell. It's how you conduct yourself and how you speak to others and how you relate to others. And for me, that's a massive thing in the groups, and it always has been. And I've pulled people up on their tone loads of times, just because, quite frankly, it doesn't do you a favour to behave like that to someone else where they feel I expected that I was going to get this flack, and I find it really sad because you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to. Anyway, and I don't know what I was answering there. I don't know what point I was answering, but you've got me in a thinking mood, so that's what came out.
Well, we could skip down to the bottom then and kind of make an easy segue, because the one of the points I wanted to make was that people should remember the person you offend today is going to have the card you need tomorrow.
Yes, and I will say there's another way of saying that. Never where you eat.
Yeah.
Quite frankly. So, I saw it the other day. I saw someone else post a comment and said, "Oh, such and such commented. I wouldn't have known. # blocked." Because people are blocking each other left, right, and centre.
This guy right here.
But it's just, in some cases, I agree it's warranted. But I think the number of people who have just chosen to use the block button now just because other people have different opinions and approaches about things.
That's different. That's different.
Yeah, and that is different. So I know
that's different. That makes sense. I only block people when it becomes
a problem.
Well, like when people attack me, like if people attack me personally, or send me a message to cuss me out, or are purposely looking at my wall to crop pictures and post in other groups to make fun of me. Like, that's the only reason I've ever blocked people.
Oh, man. That happened.
So, I've been here for a little while. So, things happen or whatever, but it's never been opinions. I have different opinions than everybody. Everyone has different opinions. It's never been about that. But when it becomes like safety and pure aggravation every interaction there is, I don't want to be attached to that person in any way, not socially, not physically, nothing. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say hi to a neighbor I detest. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of faulty kind of stuff is that? I think the truth is there has been situations for me where people who really upset me through personal attacks, I stopped talking to and blocked. And, you know, they have gotten cards that I wanted. And quite frankly, they can just keep them. You know what I mean? I've never reached out to them. I've never grabbed from them. I just don't buy them. They're no longer needed for my collection. And this is my kind of point on this, and then I'll stay quiet because I've been talking too much. There will never be a card on anywhere. Never be a card that I wanted so badly that I would compromise my principles. Never in a million years. And that's the difference. Being an a-hole and being mean to people just because you have a personality problem or whatever, that's a problem, because you're going to find yourself very alone on that island. I'm not talking about anybody specific. I mean, just like leaning towards more what we're talking about, less on the extreme side, which is that, you know, if you are interacting with people and you are rude, why would anyone want to trade with you? Which is, I believe, what Billy is saying. You know what I mean? Like, you know, this is a hobby. Look, you're not nice to people because eventually they'll have something you want from them. That's not being nice. That's being strategic. And yes, that exists in the hobby, and that is something to think about, especially with hobbyists of all hobbies, right? That's part of the life in a strange way. But I would personally, you know what I mean, I'm nice to everyone. Not because eventually they can give me something. And, you know, I don't think anybody should be like that in the groups. You're nice to people because, you know what? If it was someone you love or yourself, you'd want people to be nice to you. And that's it.
Right.
Anyway, that went off on a tangent, but I know what you mean.
I think what we're talking about is making better decisions when it comes to interacting with people and not flying off the handle and being able to have, like we've said multiple times throughout this podcast, that civil discussion, right? Two people who are able to have a civil discussion, they're never going to find themselves hitting the block button on each other.
This is true.
Yes,
this is true.
And people who are unable to have that civil discussion are going to find that their hobby world is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and they're going to feel less and less connected to the cards and to the rest of the community. Yeah. And that's doing a disservice to your interest, to your passion, because majority of us, that's what we have for this. It's not just an interest. It's not just a liking. It's not just a boredom. It's a passion. And in order to be true to that, we need to be fully immersed in and I don't mean fully immersed like we need to actively participate, because there's plenty of great collectors, people that like they lurk in the shadows and they're just not social creatures, and that's totally fine too. But if you are going to engage and interact with people, then you need to hold yourself to a certain standard and be able to have that civil discussion and be able to walk away from a difference of opinion and be able to agree to disagree.
100%.
Without there being mudslinging and without, because obviously you're talking about some situations that are extreme where personalities just are out of control. But then Ian's also mentioned that it seems like there's some people where they have their block button has a hair trigger with the amount of people that they have. Like, oh, block. Yeah. Oh, I don't like that block. Oh, you said Rogue looks stupid in that card. Block. Like, that's ridiculous.
I don't know if it gets that simple, but you just create your own echo chamber then. But I think you also cut yourself off from so much. You're closing yourself off to opportunities, which is why I've always been about, as a crude example, just groups that just only allow trading within the US. Or sellers or traders who only do trades within the US. I just think it's a choice at the end of the day, but by making that choice, you're closing yourself off. But when it when you do it en masse, when it's en masse, when it's your USP or whether it's your thing, that you'll only trade within your own territory, and that's the reason that the group exists. I think it just does a disservice to collectors.
It's gross.
Even in the same landmass like Canada and Mexico.
There's a reason we left all those years ago.
Well, yeah, there's a reason
we won.
There's a reason we left all those years ago.
Yeah. You know.
Oh, it's so dark. Oh gosh. I think what's funniest too is like, and I'm sure Billy, you've had to have this kind of stuff because of your channel too. Man, how many like international collectors have we known now? I mean, yeah, of course, Ian Taylor, you know, the master himself, but like, man, I know people in Austria, New Zealand, Portugal, Spain,
Italy.
I regularly comments on my videos. Good morning from Afghanistan.
Wow.
Yay.
That's just so cool, man. So, and China, right? Japan. I mean, there's some like amazing Asian collectors out there who are just like probably some of the biggest Marvel card collectors are MCU collectors and Marvel card collectors exist in Asia.
Australian ones tend to be pretty intense.
Australian ones are Andrew Lund, the printing plate guy. He's in Australia. Yeah.
Yes,
Andrew.
Yes.
There's
Andrew Morrow as well.
Yes, that's right. Andrew Morrows. That's who I'm thinking about. Man, there's some amazing collectors everywhere. It's just a shame to have it in U.S. only. Seems kind of detrimental to your collection and to your ability.
That's kind of one end of the spectrum. But I guess if you're doing the bot button, you create your own little island, whereas just you and the people that you agree with. So you know, and I think it just narrows your field of vision a little bit. I don't know.
Unfortunately, what's that?
So to kind of wrap up the last two things we were talking about, and you brought up the price bashing thing that we saw last month. I always get because you guys were, when I listened to the one with Travis, you guys were talking about it as the first one of the year, and you kept saying last year.
But we called it like 2 days before Christmas, and we were like, and we were all really confused.
I was really confused.
I was just bewildered by Travis's beard because it was just like so much more glorious than it had been the previous year.
Well, the same thing happens to me because my Wednesday videos, I never do them on Wednesday anymore. I don't do them live anymore. And so I do them previously. And so I get tripped up talking about, oh, hey, happy Wednesday and referencing. But I'm thinking to myself, you guys were saying like, oh, it's 2022. But what about like 3 years from now and it's 2025 and someone's listening to that one for the first time? So like it's totally arbitrary. It means nothing, saying that like it's 20,
Yeah, for sure.
Because somebody could listen to it, I think nobody's listening to it in the past, but everybody's listening to it after it's been made. So whether you say it's January or February, but
that's why we stopped saying what episode number it was. We very quickly stopped doing that.
That was over.
Episode 3 or 4.
The mental aerobics required to like speak in the context of when it is now versus when this will be airing. But yeah, so last month when I say the podcast that you did with Travis. But so anyway, the point I was getting to before I went off on that tangent, I think I get the tangents from you guys.
Tangents are good.
So I have it written down right. I'm going to say it exactly how it's written down. If you don't like the song, change the station. And I think that kind of covers a lot of bases when we were talking about the price bashing, when we were talking about someone's opinion as a collector or something. Like, you have the freedom to just keep scrolling.
Or put your device down and walk away.
It's so simple.
Yeah,
I don't know. Some people feel so challenged by a notion or a concept that they have to participate. And it's also like if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yes, that's the one. Yes, yeah. I would also add to that the meme. I'm going to be bleeping quite a lot this episode, and it's mainly me I'm going to be bleeping, which probably says more about me than it does about anything else. But the other thing to bear in mind is the wonderful meme. Everyone is dealing with their own problems. Try not to be a
and you can pretend whatever word you want was said there, folks.
Yeah. But it's true. It's like,
I think it is true, and I think another thing. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to be that person because it just makes you look bad. It really does. Even if you're talking like major logic and people are like, yes, it still makes you look like that person. And I think also to have like a group of people where you have really similar opinions and you could group chat someone or hit someone up specifically, be like, do you believe this? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's really healthy too, because it lets you kind of like vent privately, you know what I mean? And then kind of just move on with your life. And if you have to have that kind of knee-jerk reaction, you know what I mean? A lot of people post for different reasons. A lot of people argue for different reasons. A lot of people do this kind of stuff for whatever reason it is. And I don't know, I think it's like, get your issues off the road, man. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what it comes down to for me.
Don't be reactive online, live. Don't go live in the heat of the moment when you're angry about something, because it rarely puts you in a good light.
No, unfortunately, it doesn't.
And look, like Norrin said, it's very healthy to see something that upsets you. And look, I'm not saying that I don't see things that upset me or bother me or make me think or make me want to participate in a conversation that could probably lead to a bad place or an unhealthy place. But it's really, really healthy to have individuals that you can just go to in a private chat and be like, hey, man, did you see this? Like, this is making me feel a certain way. Is it just me?
I love that. It's just important.
Giving me a funny tingle in my tummy. What should I do?
Where's that from?
My mind.
You've been the
worst.
I can't take them anywhere, Billy. I'm sorry.
They're both shaking their heads.
It's okay. After the 60-minute mark, Ian generally turns into a pumpkin.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Very good.
So the last thing, and I think this is why I mentioned Travis being there last month, and it kind of being fresh in their minds, and it was a great. If people haven't listened to the Upper Deck podcast, that was very good, helpful, and reinforced a lot of things that we already knew. And it was nice to hear him talk about things in a way that we don't usually hear from Upper Deck on like a public scale, as far as like announcing things. But Upper Deck is not the source of our problems, right? Like, so.
Yep.
I think that episode really reminded us that any issues we have, whether it's announcing release dates. Well, they can't announce release dates if they're not sure when the product's going to be available, right? Any kind of announcements in general, like they mentioned the No Way Home set.
Yeah. They
can't announce a No Way Home set because of the implications with the film's release and because of Disney and Sony. So that's not their fault. General production availability of the cards. There is a worldwide paper shortage. That is not Upper Deck's fault.
No.
Banned character list. Again, strings pulled by Disney. Not their fault.
Yeah.
And I think when you consider the landscape of the world and the economy and production and manufacturing, Upper Deck's really done a great job.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, it's true. It's crazy. It's crazy when you really put it in perspective, like what's been going on for the last 2 years. You know what I mean? And how much Upper Deck has done product-wise and card-wise and release-wise. I mean, that's pretty spectacular when you put it into that frame of mind. I think people get pissed off, and I think they try to find a person to blame rather than understanding that circumstances that can be prevented. Yeah, I agree. It was really fun for Ian and I to make that episode and to hear them. Like, we knew stuff because, they've mentioned in the past, or they've had like group meetings or stuff like that, or, Logic kind of told us that, well, that must be part of this problem. You know what I mean? But it was really cool to hear them. And I think what's always been really fun from my perspective, talking Upper Deck, whether people are fans or not, has always been, man, they actually like really, really appreciate the value. They really are proud of their work. You know what I mean? They really do want their work to be great. They really put a lot. Like we've spoken in the past to the person who designs these sets, and man, it's so cool to hear them be like, I'm so glad I have this job. This is so fun to do. You know, because you wouldn't want that job to be with anybody else. You want it to be with people who maybe are not like hardcore fans, but at least someone who understands the importance and the excitement and the fun that the job brings. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's where they're excited to it's like, oh yeah, we have this really cool idea, and if it comes off, it's going to really, like, people are going to really.
Yeah, I love that.
It's that like they're thinking of the reaction of the collector. 2-3 steps down the line. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the line, depending on what it may be. Even at the design stage. I mean, what a lot of people fail to realise is that a lot of the products are an 18-month to 2-year stage from soup.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, they'll be planned, budgeted, designed, built, approved, all that stuff long before they go to print. Long before they're actually made. That's kind of the last aspect of it. Then it's very much at the end of the thing. So so there's stuff coming that they know about that they can't tell us about, and the great thing is that they're comfortable and able enough to give us that exclusive where they will tell us about stuff that they haven't even solicited publicly.
Right.
So we're very fortunate in that regard. They don't have to do that at all. We'd just be guessing. But to know there's a Fleer Ultra set coming up featuring the Avengers, to know there is another one coming up after that featuring who knows who yet.
Yeah.
To know to know there's going to be a Flair 2. It's not off the cards. To know there's going to be an Anime 2.
Oh man, I love the concept of the Flair set and how it's an ensemble with the art and it's original, but you get to see all these different styles. That's really exciting to see.
I love that set. That was
Have you gone in there with Flair yet? Have you opened any?
Have I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've opened about 7 or 8 boxes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Beast.
And Beast. Those tier 6s, that's a tough chase.
Those are tough. Yeah. Those have always been tough.
Yeah, I think those have always been tough. But I think I got them redeemed, so I don't have the achievement, which is the Magneto card.
That Magneto achievement.
Yeah. So I'll never have that.
$500.
Yeah, I'll never have that. You know what? I'm fine with not having that. That's okay.
It's a beautiful card.
But I'm sure it is.
Who did the art for that Magneto? Do we know? I forget.
Was it Pavlik or Geist?
I don't think it was Geist.
No, I don't think
Geist
it was.
Is so good.
Was it Pavlik then?
I think
you might be right.
I think it is.
You might be right.
The Moon Knight that Geist did. Now having
that's a killer card.
It grows on me so
Holy
much more
crap.
every time I see it.
That is a killer card.
And I was having another butcher's at Dave Palumbo's Moon Knight the other day.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
And just like looking at it again and just like, because it's never really a character I got into. I really tried to get into him in the comics, and I have a feeling it's going to be one of these characters that I get into on the live version of it and have the appreciation for him in the live version of it. But I've always dug the aesthetic and the look, and there was a fantastic dialogue that I saw between Bill Sienkiewicz and Joe Jusko where they were talking to each other about how they worked on Moon Knight. And like the challenges that they had with what was and wasn't allowed and what wasn't preferred in terms of how they depict the character. And I won't go into it because it was A, I can't remember it, and B, it was on their own personal things where they were talking to each other. So I'm not sure how public domain it should be. But it was just fascinating. Like the whole, Bill posted a long, if you printed it out, it would have been 2 sides, story about when he was working at Marvel on Marvel stuff, and Joe recounted similar experiences, and it was just brilliant watching them talk about it. Anyway, sorry, just by the by, but it's been Moon Knight all over the place the week that we're recording this, so
pretty cool
for obvious reasons. So
yeah, and Bill's work on Moon Knight was incredible. If you've seen any of it, his cover work, his inside work.
Sienkiewicz art has always been some of my favorite art, but to see him do Moon Knight, I mean, he's really known for New Mutants, but man, when you see him do Moon Knight, is that an MM? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I have a feeling
right.
it's MM93. I want to say. I'm just flicking through.
I thought it was 08. No,
it might be 07, but I have. What is
There's a Bill Sienkiewicz Moon Knight card.
There is.
I don't remember what year.
Yeah.
It's a Masterpiece card too.
It is.
I just don't remember.
I'm looking for it, and it's not. So it's not 93. That was my first thought. It's 07. Then it must be.
I thought it was 07. I don't know why. I remember that.
Yeah, you're probably correct. I mean, I should know it if it's 07 because 07 is my OG.
My Marvel baby. Masterpieces 07, 08 gold borders. Those cards are nice. Aren't those cards nice, Billy? I just think they're so 07. Pretty. 07, 07 gold borders. You're looking at it?
I'm looking at it.
Just get in there.
Oh, man.
Thank goodness for alphabetical order. Yes. Oh my goodness. Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's.
I thought so.
It's 07.
It's a stunning image.
It's 07.
Yeah, there it is.
And there's the gold border. Isn't that amazing? Excuse me.
Damn, that's a card.
Bill. I know you don't listen, but if you're listening, we love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Incredible.
Bill Sienkiewicz was awesome. He was such an honor to speak to that guy. Lovely guy.
I haven't gotten that far back yet.
Oh yeah, we spoke to Sienkiewicz. It was awesome because he did sketch cards back in the day. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually for 97.
Oh, he did some. Yeah, he did some for 97. He did 5 for 07, I think.
Yep.
Someone told me.
They're sick. I've seen them. They're just stunning.
But yeah. Stunning. So, but from one Bill, we appreciate immensely, to another. He's in the room with us now.
It's funny. It's corny. When I used to wait tables, I would say, I'm the first and the last thing you get.
I love it. I love it.
Also, when he was a rent boy. Anyway, so
nowhere.
I'm just getting cold hard stares. So we'll move on. We'll edit that out. No, edit that out. Billy, what else has been going on before we shoot off into the distance? How have you been?
I have been trying to keep carrying on and get ready for Spider-Man Metal whenever it comes. That's one set I really counted on it being it coming in December. And so when it didn't come in December, I kind of had to make some adjustments on the fly. And the last couple of weeks, I've had to have some help on the channel with other people coming on and opening things, which I'm very grateful for Keith Boyle from I Want More Comics in Thornton, Colorado. That'll be my payment to him for coming, is plugging his shop. He's been very grateful he's been very generous about coming on the channel and opening some boxes. He's a great guy, and he's always been a supporter of the channel. But as far as the Wednesdays, I've been waiting for Spider-Man Metal. I'm very excited about it. And then Marvel on the Brain's kind of on a hiatus right now, having trouble getting players. So maybe this will be a good opportunity for me to send the call out to the masses.
Yeah, get on it, people.
We're the show is ready to go. It just needs people to come and play. So I'm excited about that. I haven't given up on it yet. I know it's been a while since the last episode, but from the response to it was very positive. People tell me, that's awesome. Like new people find me on Instagram. They're like, "Oh, hey, I love the trivia show." So that's cool. Very encouraging. And I assure everybody that when we come back, there will be music, a light jingle while we're waiting for the contestants to answer their questions, because in my rewatching, that dead air it can be painful.
It's quite weird when you're playing it as well.
Well, you know,
I like it, man.
We're developing. It's a growing thing. Look, it's just like my channel in general. If you go back to the earlier videos, I was a mess, and with the camera setups, and I think it's come a long way. But it's exciting I do feel like I'm really kind of sewn into the community now. It's cool to be known and to be respected. All I did was open a bunch of boxes, and all of a sudden people are consider me an authority. But
yeah, but you're yourself,
awesome, brother.
You're yourself, and that's the thing with anything on social, especially, is people are drawn to authenticity. That's what they see first and foremost, and that will always float to the top.
I try, and like I mentioned in my post, before the end of the year about my excitement and about us all trying to, like, how we should all stay that excited, how we should all get so excited when we pull something good that we run out of the room screaming like a maniac and come back in shaking and grabbing the dog in front of the screen because we're so excited, or like when we hit that Psylocke on 96, Norrin. I mean,
shaking the dog.
Yeah.
That 96 Psylocke.
So on one of the last packs in 96, we Mystique and Psylocke are probably two of the hardest base cards to come by.
Beautiful.
I think I need Mystique. I think I only need 5 more. That's one of them.
So we hit the Mystique, and then I was like, wow, the Mystique, she's almost as hard to get as Psylocke. And they're like, do you have a Psylocke? And I'm like, no, I don't have a Psylocke. And they're like, well, you're going to get it on the next one. And lo and behold, the very next card was Psylocke. And we all collectively lost our minds.
It's amazing.
Care of Norrin.
Yeah.
Beautiful card. It's a great card. That Psylocke's amazing. Really, I think 96, man. I loved you open up the 96. That was so important when you did it.
Oh, there you go.
Julie Bell, baby. Julie Bell, Silver Surfer. God, that's cool, man. Love to get that piece. It's just a beautiful card. No, I think it was so important when you came on the scene too, because no one had really been opening. You had Random Collector, you had some other people who were kind of opening up some boxes here and there who were really good. But no one had really thought about, okay, here's my channel. This is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So when you got on the scene, I was so excited because there's certain boxes you can't open, you know what I mean? Because they're hard to find and stuff like that. And you got them pretty early, right at the hype of all this stuff, and really built up a community on your channel. And, we got to meet and hang out and talk, and, we talk quite frequently. You know what I mean? I just think it's great, man. I'm so glad you're here. And that's the other thing too, to think about, right? It's like, man, the Marvel card hobby audience got bigger, but I've made some really new, awesome friends, and I've been having this time of my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think I just love it. I'm so glad you're here, man. You do such a good job, and I love everything you do, brother. I really, and your knowledge, man, is insane. It's so funny. So Billy and I were talking on the phone about something, and I said, "Oh, that's the first set of this," and he was like, "Oh yeah, well, wait a minute, didn't they do this in here?" I looked off to the side. I was like, this is not the first time Billy has absolutely
it was
schooled me.
Hand-numbered cards.
That's it. Hand-numbered cards, because we were talking about the metallurgy. And I was like, isn't that the first time hand-numbered cards? And he was like, nope. Yeah, and look at Ian's face, and he's like, no. Because I have a terrible memory. I know
certainly one of the Rittenhouse sets did it.
Yeah.
No, the 2016 Jusko autos.
2016 Jusko. And then you have also the Marvel Now out of 10. It's like a red number on him. I forget what the insert.
But the first set where Rittenhouse did the comic cuts, and they were oversized. They were hand.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. So, and I totally forgot. But that's kind of always the thing with Billy, right? Is that Billy's wealth of knowledge and historical accuracy, even in comic books and cards, is, that's what made the game show so much fun. In all seriousness, it wasn't. Your personality is awesome,
and
but it
makes it not past tense. It is coming back.
It was a blast.
Get on it, people.
And
then when you challenged me on the 90 MU.
Oh, that was hilarious. I was dying. I was like, I was like, yeah, he's right.
So Billy, tell this is the moment where you can pimp. Where can people find you? What do people want to do if they want to be on Marvel on the Brain?
Well, you can message me on Facebook, Watch Me Open. You can message me on Instagram. It's watch_me_open. Or you can leave a comment on one of the videos on YouTube where I am also Watch Me Open. And you can go to watchmeopen.com to get linked directly to my YouTube page because I'm not popular enough on YouTube yet where I'm allowed to create my own YouTube link.
Well, we need to sort that out. What do you need? 100, 200? You need 100?
1,000.
1,000.
No, it's not. It's less than that because we got one for the for this podcast. Not that we use the YouTube much anymore, but we had to have 100, and we've got a bespoke URL.
They must have changed it.
Oh wow! Well, we got in at the right time then.
Yeah, it's 1,000 now.
Yeah, because I think we're about 330 something. I saw the other day when I was on there, and I was like, "Well, that's nice. That went up nicely, considering we haven't put anything on there for like a year." But hey ho, brilliant. Well, Billy, I loved, even though I was tired and a bit drunk on at least one of the episodes, I loved being on that show. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you were great. If it wasn't for Tony's absolute monster season, you would have been in the finals.
But Tony is encyclopedic knowledge of stuff as well. It's crazy. Because I ordered it, and James was the dark horse. He was putting out some crackers as well. But Tony, with all the characters he's drawn over the years, he knows some stuff.
Look, and James, what an outstanding job he did with chronicling the comic sources from X-Men Metal.
Yes.
For anybody who's listening that isn't aware, one of the group members, James Edel, he found the comic that all the art was from for every card.
That was awesome.
And it's now in the group in an album. Like, so it's a matter of historical record now. Like, so anytime so if you want to pair a card that you like from that set with the comic that the art came from, you have the ability to do it now because of James.
Yep.
That was a labor of love.
Yep.
That was awesome. I kept seeing that post and I was like, this guy's on fire. It was amazing.
I'm wondering he's going to do that for...
He has to do that for Spider-Man.
Maybe he will.
Well, it might not be James. It might be someone else. Someone else. I can't wait. Yeah, that's the one that will... yeah. I mean, you forget. Nolan and I have seen something that shouldn't yet be seen from that.
Yeah, Billy pressed me for information.
I didn't forget.
He totally pressed me.
I didn't forget. I totally remember. I've totally put both of you on the proverbial rack to try to stretch it out enough to squeal.
Tell us.
Well, I was going to say something that would completely give it away then, but I'm not going to. Because
you got to censor Billy more. That's just the name of the game.
We wouldn't want anyone to put you on the spot or let the cat out of the bag. So anyway, I just said it.
Damn! Did you hear that? Can't be trusted. I'm not the weakest link. I just want people to know that. It's not me.
Newsflash, people. Black Cat is in Spider-Man Metal.
Yeah, newsflash. Yeah, right.
It's pretty dangerous. Yeah. Pretty dangerous information to be out there.
You think Spider-Man might be in that set?
Tough. Tough to say. I think it's too close to call.
If Peter Porker Spider-Ham isn't in that set, then quite frankly, I'm storming.
I think he is. I think he was in some of the...
He's in the cell sheet, I think.
Is he? Oh, yeah. This is how much attention I've been paying.
Well, no, that might have been Spider-Verse, where I saw him on the cell sheet. I hope he's in there.
I do think in the promotional material that was on Beckett, I saw it.
Wow, that's cool. Wow. I love it. That's going to be fun.
As Peter Porker.
I can't wait, Captain. I can't wait. Lovely. All right. I suppose we better go. Billy, you haven't done it yet, but you're going to be introing this episode.
Oh,
just so you know. Just so you know.
You're not going to recycle my other intro?
Did you do an intro before? Then yes. We'll recycle that.
This is embarrassing, Ian.
I don't
How could you not remember?
It's almost 4 o'clock and I haven't yet had an alcoholic drink. So give me a break. Okay.
I'm probably the only person to ever do the intro that shouted out their mother.
This guy right here.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you want to do an intro and shout out someone else's mother, you're more than welcome to. Oh dear. Right. I'm gonna wrap us up. And Billy, you
take us out, Billy.
Say if you want to.
Okay.
Let me just say these words. I'll do the usual. And say rate, review, and subscribe to the Marvel Card Collectors podcast. We're needy. We need you. We need you to click that button. We need you to hit the thumb. We need you to like us because, quite frankly, we're needy people. Me more than Norrin, probably. Wherever you get your podcasts and on our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitter, find us at the MCC Pod. You can send us an email. People do sometimes send us emails, Norrin. I'm sure I've got at least one to read out. At the MCC Pod, the MCCpod at gmail.com, even. And or you can leave us a voicemail, but I'm not going to say that link because, quite frankly, no one ever does, and it's too long a link to say on air. So, with that, this has been tremendous. Billy, thank you for having the idea and coming on. You're welcome back anytime. Door's always open. There's always an empty chair for you.
I'm waiting for that third appearance to put me on top.
Well, it'll be coming. We need to get you in there. 3 is the magic number. As always, Billy.
It's a small hobby, but a fun one. Make mine Marvel and enjoy collecting.
Thanks for listening to the Marvel Card Collectors podcast. Visuals and tasting notes for each episode can be found on our Facebook page. You can subscribe and leave us a voicemail via our home on anchor.fm/MCCP. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. Please take a second to subscribe, like, and review our show wherever you get your podcasts. Our podcast can be found by Googling at the MCC Pod, which will also find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Our Facebook community is at MCCW, Marvel Card Collectors Worldwide, and MMC, Marvel Masterpieces Collectors. The great music we use is called Rocket Power by Kevin MacLeod. Thanks to the collectors, artists, and creators who support the Marvel Cards Fan Collective. We'll see you next time, and remember, it's a small hobby but a fun one. Make mine Marvel and enjoy collecting.